I have done this with a regular conventional router and this kind of ball bearing guide bit, and actually just set this up like this or block this up a little bit and travel along this way. You don't have to have the router table. The router table kind of wigs me out a little bit, really. So I don't know if it's the noise, I don't know if it's the proximity of the exposed bit that's flinging around. I don't know what it is, but pardon?
Have you ever had anything fly out of one?
Yeah, usually they
put the fear of God.
And maybe I shouldn't be standing here.
Yeah, right. So, cutter rotation. As this thing spins counterclockwise, as you look down on it, if you're going to be at the front side of the bit, you're going to want to go left to right. And I've gone ahead and put some pencil marks here to indicate the end of the fretboard because I'm not forward thinking enough to do that, but that was Bill's great idea. So
I have a pencil handy.
you had a pencil handy. Why don't you put a pencil mark on it, moron? And so if you go on the front side of the router bit, and you're going to go from left to right with this as it's coming around, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage because you can't really see the progress as it happens. And the neck is actually wider than the fretboard right here as you get near the string nut. So you might not want to be concerned about trying to keep the ball bearing up against the fretboard for that last little bit, and maybe plan to just kind of come along and pare away a little bit. But you certainly wouldn't want to have the ball bearing roll off the end of the fretboard where the nut is and come around and put a big gouge in your neck. That's not going to be a happy thing. So if anything, Smart Money says stop short a little bit and plan to use a file to even that up square before you even think about contouring the back of the neck. Okay?
Doug, I'm confused on one thing. It looks to me like the fretboard for at least the top half is wider than the neck. And so if the bearing is riding, you got neck sticking out?
There's a little bit of neck sticking out. This is a little bit off center.
Okay.
And right here it feels like it's damn near flush.
Flush is okay.
This is, but it's, if anything, it may be a pinch off center.
On mine, the fretboard's a little bit wider, so it wouldn't even cut.
It shouldn't be. The neck should be a little bit wider.
Really?
We'll take a look. So, if you choose to be able to keep an eye on this and watch this as this spins around counterclockwise, instead of going left to right, you might go right to left. And again, there is not, for most of this neck, there is not a whole lot of wood to come off of here. It's going to just pair a little.
That's a good thing.
And that is a good thing. But my discomfort with the router table is, where to put your hands, where to keep everything, to get this router bit spinning around. If anybody's not comfortable with this, we will help you with this. Okay?
Usually there's a hood that goes over it and the board can slide under the hood.
A lot of times,
Say what?
It's too tall.
So I've done some. Haven't done all. I've done a little bit. Okay, and you can tell the portion I did.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That is flush. If you've got any glue squeezed out and it's glue on the ebony fretboard, take a few moments. I got my scrapers out and scrape away at that glue. The glue will be not black, and the wood, if you start scraping ebony, will be black. So don't scrape the mahogany. Just scrape the edge of the fretboard if you've got any glue that is squeezed out, so that that ball bearing has got that nice straight line to run along. Okay. This router bit height has been set so that the ball bearing will run along the edge of the fretboard. Some of the ebony fretboards, when they were machined, there's a little flange of ebony that sticks out along the glue seam, and this router bit's been set to trim that off also. Okay, so if you're one of the folks that's got kind of an irregular edge on your fretboard, and it's just a little hair at the bottom, like on the footprint of it, this will slice that off too. Okay. better on the treble side versus the original bass side. Because I don't know how fast and loose I want to play with run them to the very end of the fretboard. You know, it might take a little more time to deal with this left or to not route quite all of it, but that's better than having the ball bearing run around the end of here and gouge into the headstock. And then there's just not, we can fix a lot of things, but there's not really any coming back from that. So,
You can fix it, it'll just look like it's been fixed.
yeah. As a matter of fact, whose do I have? Who's
Why? Why do you want to know?
No, this is yours, isn't it? It's got that little flange of extra ebony on here, where at the factory, you can see there's a little bit of
Yep,
ebony sticking up.
yep,
Let's
yep.
do that for the camera. So you want to set the router bit so that it doesn't just trim the mahogany, but if there's any extra ebony on the fretboard, that it gets that. Right there.
Yeah.
Spot, yeah. So, no, I don't want to know you the fun. I'll let you do the other side. Thank you for letting me run the one side. But we'll help anybody that's not.